we had, it was so good. We were family. But that was pre-war. I lost my son in the evacuation.
Where is he?
Manhattan.
You won't be stuck in an active war zone.
What exactly inspired you into creating this series?
Sure. Yeah, I remember reading the comic when it came out in 2005, December 2005. It chilled me to the core, and I got addicted to it because, you know, the concept of war in our own backyard is such a foreign idea, and certainly was such a foreign idea. I devoured all the comics, and 10 years later, I came back to in 2016, and suddenly they started taking on a whole new meaning. You know, in the comics, our military is interred in the other, in over there, and suddenly these divisions felt much more internal, felt much more in our face. So it felt like a really kind of challenging property that I have a long history with.
So what did you do to prepare for the role of Skell? Did you read the comics? Did you draw any inspiration from any previous adaptations?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I got word of this series back in October of 2019, and I read the script, and immediately after, not the script, I'm sorry, the comic novel, and immediately after I sent Ava a text message, and I said, hey, Ava, I don't mean to impose, but I absolutely love this comic novel, and I hear you're directing it. If there's any way I can be a part of it, in any way, shape, or form, I would love that. And she messages me back and she says, serendipitously, I had just spoken to Roberto, the creator, yesterday about you. And so that's how it started. And in that process, I came to find the narrative that we were telling was diverting from the original comic novel, and we were focusing on Z Hernandez, Alma, in the DMZ, and creating a narrative through her lens. And so it was really an incredible experience because it was a collaborative one where we entered it sort of building the world from scratch, building this narrative from scratch, and having an input in that process was a first for me, an incredibly unique experience for me, and as an artist, very validating. And obviously there's the physical preparation that I had to do. I had to get in shape. And then not to mention, in the 2-year span, we had a pandemic, we had a delay, but that was actually very informative because we saw the possibility of this world getting closer to being, possible and not just probable. So yeah, I mean, there was a lot of preparation that went in that, leading up to, during, and even now. We're releasing this in a time where I think people need to watch. There's, war overseas going on that could affect all of us. And at the core of this story is a woman in search for her son, a pursuit of love, of hope, of family. And I think we can all relate to that, especially during the pandemic. We relied heavily on our family, on hope for a future. And I think that this is going to be a great piece to showcase that.
Actually, you know what? I didn't want to look at the graphic novel at all because I knew that it was really a starting point for a new story. I mean, the premise itself is incredibly provocative, so that's there for the people who are fans of the graphic novel. The idea that as a country, we're in a civil war again, and that the most coveted piece of real estate in the country, the island of Manhattan, is essentially a demilitarized zone, neutral territory between the two warring factions. This story focuses on the people who remain behind, whether by choice or who were abandoned. And in that sense, Roberto was incredibly successful at using this rather large canvas, but really drilling down into working with what ends up being a rather intimate story. How the people who are left behind, how do they survive? How do they maintain a sense of hope? How do they move forward with their humanity intact in the face of a lack of resources or food or money or really a way of operating in the old ways.
You know, it means so much, and I've heard you constantly talk about diversity. What does it mean to be a woman of color really leading in terms of your character?
Yeah, I love that this character is one of those sort of reluctant heroines. You know, she's so leading with just mama bear energy, as Roberto puts it. You know, there is someone who put out a tagline, who put out like an image of the poster and wrote like, survival is one tough mother, you know? And I grew up with that. I grew up with a matriarchal family, but I also, in that matriarchal family, was gotten really mixed signals, you know, like we were taught patriarchal standards, and toxic masculinity and trauma was passed on just as fervently as if it was passed on by the men themselves. And, you know, you can say it was tough love, you can say it was to prepare us for the greater world around us, but I think we're in a place right now where we're starting to recognize that that is just not the way forward. It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving, and that, you know, that we can start recognizing that leading with heart and leading with love is actually that much more powerful, and that is represented very powerfully in this story, and I think it's a message and a lesson that we all really need more now more than ever.
Is there any type of message you want audiences to take away after viewing the series?
Yeah, you know, the show assumes a war. It actually starts 8 years into it, and it tells the story of what happens next, which is the story of people coming together, and it's the story of people reclaiming their sense of identity, and it's a story of ultimately hope. So while it is a story set against the war, there is actually no war in it. You know, it's a forward-looking show, and that was an intentional approach. There's so much dystopia out there. There's so much, you know, blue, gray, bleak, you know, post-apocalypse. And I wanted to take this and run in the opposite direction. This is a very colorful show. The music is super vibrant, and you know, like I said, you take a cross section of Manhattan, and you'll get people from all over the world, from all creeds, all walks of life. And this show posits, you know, a world where all of those people can start really listening to each other and building a new table of power.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the DMZ is the backdrop for the circumstances through which she has to go through to attain her son. And in this day and age where everything just seems to be going against us, and there seems to be little to no hope for a better future, I think the audience members can realize you might have to jump leaps and bounds to get to a better place, but through compassion and accountability, we can get there.
Well, you know, our principal agenda with releasing DMZ is we want to entertain people. At the end of the day, Ava DuVernay, Roberto Patino, Rosario Dawson, myself, all the actors involved, we're storytellers. And the beauty in being a storyteller, the thing that really excites us more than anything else, is we want you to feel something and perhaps see yourself reflected back in the screen. So what I'm excited about in this context with DMZ specifically is you have front and center an array of people who are quintessentially American, but who are from very diverse backgrounds. You know, when I was a kid growing up, there was no way a show like this would exist, because it would never focus on a cast that was almost principally people of color. That's changed. I mean, and that's great news, because what it means is the industry is finally waking up and recognizing that, yeah, I know you still need to make money, you got to make your profits, but you can do it by being very culturally specific. As long as the story is good, it doesn't matter. It's all relatable, because we're all human beings at the end of the day. We all have the same needs, wants, desires, and what DMZ is keen to focus on is that the people who remain behind, they have hope because they see a way forward that perhaps jettisons the old way of operating, which is by force, with aggression. Like, war has been an ever-present part of our species. Since the dawn of civilization, men have been at war. There's a very feminist kind of ethos that exists in this show, and it's personified by Rosario Dawson. She gives an incredibly powerful, soulful, heartfelt performance. So you have all of that, this great this great set of emotions. But there's also, for those out there who want some action, some fighting and some battles, that's in there too. So we're here to entertain, but we hope we make you feel something too.
Well, I'm actually kind of going back a little bit to what you said with diversity earlier. It's like, that is our world. Like, the majority of the planet is very colorful. The kaleidoscope of humanity and our abilities and our capabilities is on constant display if you actually travel around.
Do you have any advice to students who want to be a creator, producer, actor, anything in the industry? Biggest piece of advice you could give to us?
Yeah, there's no such thing as making it. There's no such thing as making it. You just keep doing. You just keep working, you stick around till after the dust settles, and then you stick around some more, and you just get bigger and bigger projects. And maybe one day, when you're retiring, you can say, oh, I guess I made it, but it's really an elusive idea. So don't try to make it, just do.
I would say if you believe deeply that you have something to tell, something worth telling, see it all the way through. And always remind yourself why you do what you do beyond yourself. It'll help you get through in the tough times where you might be thinking, well, what's the point? Because we all go through it. There's the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows of life. But if you have a strong purpose or a strong reason for why you think your stories need to be told, you'll be just fine.
Yeah, the great news for young storytellers, whether you're a film student or not, is if you think you have something to say, own it and take authorship. The technology is there, right? There are social media channels now. You can make a movie out of TikTok. You can make a movie out of iPhone and put it on a YouTube channel. Like, that kind of access makes you're only limited by your own imagination now. I'm not saying you're going to blow up the box office like that, but guess what? You can make a movie on your iPhone and get somebody in the industry's attention. So all you have to have is the will and the desire, and ultimately, yes, the talent to do it well, to succeed in this business.
Some of you had been left behind. All of you survived.
Why did you come back?
For you.